Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're really digging into a key piece of policy. It's all about the future of how the U.S. government gets advice on science and technology. We are unpacking Executive Order 14177. This was signed by President Donald Trump back on January 23rd, 2025. And it establishes the revamped President's Council of Advisors on Science and Technology, PCAST for short.
Right. And for you listening, this isn't just some, dry bureaucratic paper shuffling. Understanding this order is really crucial because PCAST, that's the formal setup the administration is using to get advice on the most just formative technologies out there. We're talking AI, quantum computing, advanced biotech.
Okay.
So this order tells us exactly where the strategic priorities are and, what challenges, both internal and external, the administration thinks need tackling to keep America ahead.
Yeah, the document jumps right out at you because of the high ground it claims in Section 1. It's very rhetorical. It doesn't just say we're making a council. It lays out this whole national mission. Okay, let's unpack this starting right there with that core purpose and the language they're using to, justify creating PCST.
It really leans into that American story narrative, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It kicks off by talking about the nation's history of boundless creativity, the pioneering spirit. It draws these direct lines to, like, Edison's light bulb, the Wright brothers, Armstrong on the moon. It's basically framing today's tech landscape as the next big chapter in that story of success.
And that historical angle leads straight into defining the new frontier. The order is specific here: artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and advanced biotechnology. It says breakthroughs in these fields are, the keys to revolutionizing industry, securing prosperity, enhancing public welfare, all that.
That's the opportunity side of the coin, definitely. But then the order pivots pretty fast into the geopolitical situation, which seems to be the main external reason for setting up this powerful new council. It says point blank that because global competitors race to exploit these technologies, it's now a national security imperative, non-negotiable, for the U.S. to achieve and maintain unquestioned and unchallenged global technological dominance. That's the quote.
That goal, unchallenged global dominance, that feels like the headline objective.
Definitely.
But there's this other justification in there, just as strong, but focused internally. It's about the integrity of science itself. This is where it gets into a pretty charged discussion about threats within the scientific community as the administration sees them.
Absolutely. And just to be clear, we're reporting impartially on what's in the source material here. The order spends a good bit of time detailing this perceived threat. It claims the pursuit of truth, the thing that should drive innovation. It says that's increasingly under threat. It points fingers at what the document labels ideological dogmas propping up in science, medicine, tech institutions.
And it gets specific about what it means by dogmas.
Yeah.
It claims these are practices that elevate group identity above individual achievement, that they enforce conformity at the expense of innovative ideas, and crucially, that they inject politics into the heart of the scientific method.
Right. And the connection the order makes is really important here. It argues that the alleged result of these internal ideological issues is, eroding public trust, undermining research integrity, stifling innovation, and ultimately weakening America's competitive edge against those global rivals. So you see the link. The failure to achieve unquestioned dominance is tied directly back to this perceived ideological capture of science.
Wait, let me just clarify that link. You're saying the document frames this not just as like a culture war issue, but as an actual threat to national security. How does it connect those two in practice?
It connects them by implication, mostly. The idea is if research places focus on things other than pure merit, what the order calls individual achievement, then, you won't get the cutting-edge results you need. You won't beat sophisticated competitors in AI or quantum. So dealing with what the administration views as these internal ideological problems, that becomes like step one for securing external tech supremacy.
Wow, that framing gives PCKT a huge mandate, doesn't it? It's not just advise us on this algorithm. It's fix the very foundation of American science while winning the global tech race. And PCTCT is presented as the group that will unite the brightest minds from academia, industry, and government to navigate all this.
Exactly. It's a pretty high-stakes diagnosis leading to a very specific structural fix.
Okay, so if the stakes are that high tech supremacy, scientific integrity, how do they actually structure a group to tackle those massive challenges?
Yeah.
Let's shift to the makeup and function laid out in sections 2 and 3.
Structurally, it's designed to be focused, high level. Section 2 establishes the council, and it sets a clear maximum size, not more than 24 members, which, keeps the group fairly tight and targeted.
But the leadership roles, that's where you really see the administration's priorities, I think. The order mandates two specific government co-chairs. Who are they, and what does putting those two together tell us?
Okay, so the first co-chair is the traditional head of U.S. science policy, the assistant to the president for science and technology, the APST. That's expected. Yeah. But the second mandated co-chair, that's the special advisor for AI and crypto. Putting those two together at the top, that's very telling.
But why? I mean, the APST gives you broad oversight, sure, but tying that role directly to the AI and crypto advisor, that seems to really narrow the focus, doesn't it? It puts those two sectors, emerging tech, foundational security, right at the top of the pile.
It screams urgency, I think. It elevates AI and, well, the security side of digital tech, like crypto, makes them co-equal in importance with the entire federal science policy structure. It pretty much guarantees that the advice reaching the president is filtered through this lens that's hyper-focused on winning in these immediate, high-growth, high-risk tech areas.
That's a really interesting signal, yeah. So the rest of the members, up to that 24 limit, they're appointed by the president from outside government, academia, industry, innovators. And the order says they need to bring diverse perspectives and expertise.
Right. And their main job, laid out in Section 3, is pretty comprehensive. Advise the president on science, tech, education, innovation policy, and this advice has to inform public policy relating directly to the American economy, the worker, and key, again, national and homeland security.
Okay, now here's where the structure gets really revealing, I think. How this new council fits into the existing U.S. science setup. PCAST doesn't just add a new advisory channel. It actually pulls in several existing important statutory roles.
Yeah, it kind of absorbs them. The order says this new PCAST has to also serve as two older advisory committees. One's mandated by Congress way back.
First, it takes on the role of the advisory committee from the High Performance Computing Act of 1991. Which means the new PCST is now officially the President's Innovation and Technology Advisory Committee.
And second, it picks up the duties of the panel required by the 21st Century Nanotechnology R&D Act. So it also acts as the National Nanotechnology Advisory Panel.
Okay, why merge those three specific things right now? The general PCST mission, high-performance computing, and nanotechnology. What's the strategic thinking behind consolidating those particular roles?
Well, it makes a lot of sense, actually, if you think about what you need for advanced computing today. High-performance computing, HPC. That's the engine for modern AI training for complex modeling. It's fundamental. And nanotechnology. That's absolutely crucial for next-gen materials, advanced manufacturing, and making the actual hardware. The chips, the quantum components that run AI and quantum systems.
Okay. So by pulling these together, the administration makes sure advice on the basic computing infrastructure and the physical limits of materials science isn't stuck in some silo. It gets integrated directly into the top-level policy, talks about global tech dominance. It links the sort of legacy infrastructure needs to the new ambitions in AI and quantum.
Exactly. It streamlines three legally required advisory roles into one powerful voice. A voice that reports straight to the Oval Office and covers both the software and the hardware side of this tech race.
Right. Now let's get into the nuts and bolts.
Yeah.
Segment 3. How does this committee actually work day to day? Running a 24-member council, especially one dealing with classified info, takes real logistical support. Which agency gets the job of administering and funding this whole thing?
Okay, this might be a bit surprising, especially with the security focus we've been talking about. The order names the Department of Energy, DOE, as the administrative hub. DOE has to provide all the funding and the necessary administrative and technical support for PCAST.
The Department of Energy. I mean, DOE is huge, runs the national labs, handles nuclear security. But it's not usually the first place you think of for hosting White House advisory groups focused heavily on, say, AI policy. That often lands with OSTP or maybe DOD if it's security heavy. Why DOE, do you think?
Well, choosing DOE really seems to underline the hard science and national security foundation of this whole thing. Remember, DOE manages this massive network of national labs. They're critical for basic research and materials, HPC, fusion energy, all things feeding into quantum and advanced defense tech. So putting PCST admin there might be a way to keep the advice tightly connected to that huge government research machine, and maybe its security protocols too.
That makes sense. Emphasizing the research engine over just policy coordination. Okay, procedurally, the order says members serve without pay, just travel expenses, per diem. That's pretty standard for advisory rules, right? Shows they're doing it for the influence, the honor.
It is standard, yes. But there's a really critical detail here that points right back to that national security angle. The co-chairs. They are specifically allowed to request security clearances and access for the non-federal members, the experts from industry and academia or their subcommittees, if the advice or analysis involves classified matters.
That is a very practical detail. So the top minds driving innovation outside government don't get shut out of sensitive national security discussions just because they're not career officials. It creates a direct, secure channel for top-tier classified input.
Exactly. It strongly suggests the Council is expected to provide input on immediate, actionable defense and intelligence issues where that deep technical expertise is vital. This role is clearly meant to be hands-on, not just theoretical musing.
Speaking of structure and process, let's talk about the lifespan and legacy. This isn't the first PCAST, is it?
No, definitely not. Section 6 makes that clear. It explicitly revokes the previous version, Executive Order 14,007, which was signed in January 2021. So this order doesn't just create a PCST, it dismantles the old one and builds a new one tailored specifically to the geopolitical and ideological concerns laid out right at the beginning in Section 1.
And the clock is ticking on this new council. The time frame is really tight, isn't it?
Very tight. Section 5 says the PCST shall terminate 2 years from the date of the order, unless, of course, the president formally decides to extend it.
2 years. For a council tasked with achieving unquestioned and unchallenged global technological dominance, that seems incredibly short. Tech dominance is usually seen as a decades-long marathon. How does that short leash affect PCST's ability to hit those huge goals?
Well, it certainly creates immense pressure for quick wins, for highly actionable policy advice right now. It ties the Council's very existence directly to the administration's current term, ensuring they have to keep proving their relevance. The risk, obviously, is that the really long-term fundamental research, the kind that needs steady funding over many years or requires building consensus across different political views, that could get sidelined by the need for short-term victories demanded by that 2-year deadline.
A very tight leash indeed. Okay, and finally, the general provisions just confirm this order is purely advisory. It doesn't override existing agency powers or mess with the Office of Management and Budget's role in budgets. It's an advice mechanism, not a new regulator.
Precisely. It's built to be a fast-moving, high-impact steering group right at the top of government.
Okay, so looking back at our whole deep dive here, Executive Order 44177 sets up this focused 24-member PCST. It's strategically co-chaired by the APST and the Special Advisor for AI and Crypto. And its creation seems driven by two connected things. First, the push for rapid tech dominance in areas like AI and quantum. And second, this conviction that internal ideological threats to scientific merit need fixing to achieve that external dominance.
Right. And by pulling together advice from key areas like high-performance computing and nanotechnology, this new PCST becomes the single high-level channel for comprehensive science and tech advice directly to the president. It's administered by the DOE, and it's structured to handle classified national security work.
So essentially, the government has reshaped its top science advisory body specifically to fight the tech arms race, using national security as the main metric. And it's explicitly written ideological guardrails into its founding purpose.
So what does this all mean for you, listening? It means the policy machinery definitely gets the scale of the tech competition, but it's applying a very specific political lens to what it sees as the necessary foundation scientific integrity needed to win it.
Which leaves us with a final thought to chew on. Given that PCST is tasked with this massive goal, unquestioned global technological dominance, but it only has a guaranteed 2-year life, how might it actually prioritize its advice? Will it focus on quick, applied tech wins, things that can show results within that 2-year window? Or can it somehow manage to push for the longer-term, foundational research that really secures dominance over decades? That's the inherent tension this new council has to navigate.